Come on, who's ready to learn about grants tonight?
Great. Hey guys, Arsena here, and I am currently out in front of the Independent Picture House here in Charlotte. I am headed into a grant writing workshop. I've mentioned in previous vlogs that grants are a great thing to leverage for your music career as an independent music artist. And today I'm going in to get some tips. Scribe LLC is going to be giving a grant writing workshop, and I like to stay sharp on my skills and make sure I know all the information for the opportunities I'm applying for. That's my tip number one. People are always asking for help from me for applying for grant. First tip is to attend the informational workshops that the grant opportunities provide. It's important to foster a good relationship with your grant makers, not to kiss up, but to make sure that you are fully aligned with their mission in providing grants to make sure your proposal aligns. And so the best way to do that is to attend their events, to attend their Q&As and info sessions and their grant writing workshops like tonight, where they're going to give you all the inside little scoop and tips and tricks to make sure that your grant has that competitive edge. So I'm headed in, and when I come back out, I'll make sure to give you some of my personal grant writing tips. Oh, really?
We bumped into an event like 5 years ago
Really?
at Cameron, and you were playing. We fell in love with you,
Oh,
and then we never see you again.
I'm still out here.
I know. Nice to meet you. I'm
Nice to
Mila.
meet you too, Mila. All right, guys, so if you stuck around, now we're going to get into those tips I promised for indie musicians that are applying for grants. So I'm going to have 5 more tips that I want to lay into. As I mentioned before, I offer artist consultations, and a lot of times I'm helping music artists apply for funding to help fund their music career. I have also had the pleasure of sitting on grant panels and helping approve or decline applications. And so I'm familiar with how that process works. If you've not checked out my OG video about grant funding, please do check that out. That's still a valuable resource, and all that information will still be very helpful. So I'm not going to repeat any of the things that are in that video. So you'll want to make sure you listen to both. When I made that video, I had received some grant funding, but I did not have the experience that I have today, which is having sat on grant panels. And so these tips today are going to be a continuation with further depth of what I've learned. All right, so my next tip is going to be that you need to have a very tangible vision that you are proposing for a grant application. Having sat on grant panels, I have seen and I have cringed at the number of applications that do not have a clear proposal or vision or idea or project. Instead, they are leaning on more so on the side of I need money, and that's just as far as their proposal goes. This might seem like a no-brainer to some, but this is why my indie artist checklist that I have, and it's free and you can download, mentions as a very foundational step as an artist to know your mission and your vision. Create very clear statements, because then you are going to have steps that help you lead to accomplishing your vision or your mission as an artist. And so a grant opportunity is an opportunity for you to take on a project that's going to help you accomplish that mission or that vision. And so if you're applying for a grant and you are just leaning on the fact that I need money, that is not enough for a funder to want to approve your proposal. So you want to make sure you have a very clear and concrete idea of what it is you want to accomplish using this funding. Don't lean on the fact that you need money. Lean on the fact that you have a very clear idea and project that you want to get done. All right, so once you have a very clear project or proposal, I like to say thesis since I'm in grad school, a clear proposal of what you would like to accomplish, my next tip is going to be to make sure you have a plan for realizing that project. So grant funders are looking to make sure they can entrust you with the funds they're going to give you. And so you want to make sure within your narrative where you are giving your proposal that you are stating very clearly you have a plan to actually make that happen. And a lot of times if your project goal is not concise and concrete, maybe it's lofty, and let's say as a music artist you say, I want to take over the world. Okay, what does that mean? How are you going to take over the world? Okay, so you need to bring that down to something that is digestible and tangible, which was step one. But in this tip, what I'm saying is make sure you have measurable metrics that you can apply that let the grant funders know that you can actually do this. I'll give you an example. So let's say your project that you're proposing is to record an EP. So you would say for the first 3 months, I need these funds because I'm going to be doing the pre-production phase for the EP. This includes songwriting, getting together with other collaborators, whatever details you want to throw in there for the duration of 3 months. The next phase will include 3 months of production where we will go into the studio with the producer and record X amount of songs. And then the final phase will be we are going to do the post-production and preparing for distribution. This is just a very general example, but you see how I showed very tangibly that I could be entrusted with the idea of creating an EP. A lot of time artists say they want to do something, but they don't know how to actually accomplish it. Grants are the place where you need to flex your muscles and show I have a plan and I know what to do to get there. Also, another thing I should mention before I move on to the next tip is pay attention to the funding window. So if the funds need to be expended by a certain period of time and your project goes beyond the scope of that, then you're not eligible. So you want to make sure the project you propose fits within that funding window. So let's go back to the EP example, and let's say you know that your EP realistically is going to take a year to complete, but their funding window and the funds need to be expended within 6 months. Then do not propose this project, or maybe propose a portion of this project. But I would say don't even propose the project, because now you're leaving them to know, will you get it done or not? You have to make sure you remember that grant funders are looking at you as the person who's going to make them look like, okay, we made a good choice in who we chose to fund. The workshop I just attended, I love the language that they used around it, and I'm going to borrow that right now. They said, do not look at grant funders if they're higher up on the hierarchy. Look at them as a partner, someone who is going to partner with you. And so I imagine that as, even with a lot of the funds that I've got, we're partners. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. You have scratched my back, funder, by entrusting me with these funds. So I'm going to scratch your back now by making sure I get done what I propose, because now you can, in your reporting, say we funded with X amount of dollars and we accomplished Y. You know what I mean? And so make sure whatever you're proposing is realistic within the guidelines of what they are asking for in the requirements. All right, so my next tip is one that I'm really passionate about, because I get a lot of artists that I consult that really need to connect these dots for this tip. So go with me here so that I can make that connection for you as well. And that is, And whatever you are proposing or whatever you are presenting yourself as, make sure that you have a track record or signs that show that you are on this trajectory and this path with or without the grant funder. And so what I mean here is a lot of times I see artists that go from this place of desperation when they're applying, and they lean a lot on that desperation from the place of, oh my goodness, if I don't get these funds, I can't pursue music, or I can't pursue this art form, or I can't get this training or this education. And so make sure that you know the distinction between, there are points where grants will ask you to kind of defend the idea of why you need these funds at this time, but that is completely different from making sure that they know it's with or without you energy. And what I mean by that, which is a shameless plug for my song, but what I mean by that is I've been on this path, I've been doing this, I'm going to continue finding a way to do this. Grant funders love that because that gives them the reassurance that you're going to get this work done. And so a lot of times I see artists that unfortunately, if they do not get this fund, they let that stop them in their tracks and they're not going to move forward. And that's actually not a good sign. That means you're looking for the grant funder to give you permission to do what you want to do or what you're trying to do. And that puts you in a really weird place when you're applying of desperation. You're giving your power to the grant funder. So reel it in, take your power back, and make sure that you're showing, I have a track record in this field and I'm going to pursue this regardless. This is just a means to help me do so. And so different ways to do that. Some grants will ask for a resume, and a resume does that. It shows, hey, boom, 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 I've been doing this. I'm continuing to do this. Other times it's in your narrative that you write. And so you do that by talking about your background and your experience. Again, I cringe when I've been on panels and I see artists go on and on and on about their need for money and not actually talking about what they bring to the table as an artist. This is what I've done and this is what I aspire to do and will do regardless. I just need this fund to help plug and connect that dot for me. But if I don't get it here, I'm going to get it somewhere else. And you don't have to say that, but that's an energy that you bring with you in your application. It's confidence. Hopefully that makes sense for you. If it does, comment heard. And if it doesn't, say, explain a little bit more, Arsena, because I want to make sure that artists apply from a place of empowerment. And a lot of times I have artists that come to me from a place of desperation. And you don't need grants to give you the permission to pursue this. And if you apply from that place of, I've not done this and I'm scared and I wish someone would help me to do this, that's not going to go over as well as the people you're applying against who say, I've been doing this, you can trust me to do this, I'm going to get the job done. See the difference? All right, I've got 2 more tips for you, and the next one is going to be, make sure that you use the templates that they provide or the file forms that they request when you're applying for something. So a lot of times when I apply for grants, they will either give you a template that you need to fill out, and I've seen people just completely forgo that and submit their own version. And you might think, oh, this makes me look, like a leader, or I'm different, I'll stand out. And that's the number one way for you to just get your application denied, okay? You need to follow the templates and the file forms that they request. I've sat on grant panels and I've seen people, for example, a budget template they've been provided fill out, instead go in their notes, in their phone and write out their expenses, screenshot it and submit that. You need to follow the processes that they have, as well as the file formats. So if they are requesting a link that does not require any downloads, make sure you provide a link that doesn't require any downloads. I've seen music artists, for example, when a link needed to be provided, submit a Spotify link. You're assuming that the person reviewing your application has a Spotify account or would even set up a Spotify account. You cannot make those assumptions. You can also not expect them to go the extra mile and go on the streaming platform that they prefer to find your music. You have to remember there are a number of grants that we have to get through, and the easiest way to sift that list down is to throw out the ones that are not following the protocol or the requirements of the application. And so follow whatever it is they're requesting. Take time, go to YouTube University, we are on it right now, and figure out, how do I get my files to them easily? YouTube is a way to do that. You can create an unlisted video and send them that link. That's very easy. It's private. It doesn't go out to the world. So for example, when I have sat on grant panels, I've had, let's say, for example, 50 applicants that I need to review. And I'm pretty type A. So what I might do is say, okay, this weekend I want to get 10 done. I want to get 5 done on Saturday, 5 done on Sunday. I want to read through, really take it all in and decide if I'm going to recommend them for approval or not. A lot of times because of technology, I'm reviewing in the comfort of my home. I have other responsibilities. I have a number of applications to get through, a deadline to get through them. If you don't have the files that are requested, that saves me time and that gets me out earlier on a Saturday. So I'm throwing that one out, okay? And that's not to be mean. I think a lot of times I've seen people apply and they think that them applying flatters the grant maker. They are not flattered just because you submitted something if what you submitted does not follow what they need. Template-wise, support materials, whatever the requirements may be, status, if you need to have a nonprofit status, if you need to have an LLC, whatever it might be, follow those guidelines, because no grant maker is sitting on the other side just so flattered that you applied that they're just going to push you through. That's just not going to happen. They will weed you out because they need to. They have so many applications to get through. So follow those little details, which leads me to my final tip, which is never, ever, ever leave any question on an application blank. I don't care how small the question is. It could be a simple yes or no. It could be a quantitative question, a qualitative question. I don't care what it is. Do not leave it blank. And this is something that I learned in high school. When I was in high school, I got $500,000 in scholarship money. And what I did was take those principles I learned in scholarships as a child and apply them as an adult applying for grants. And I had a high school counselor that taught us a lot about how to apply competitively for scholarships. And I took what she said to the extreme. And in my spare time, on the weekends and teacher work days, when I had downtime, I would just apply the principles that she taught me to scholarships that I could find. And I do the same now as an adult with grants. In my spare and downtime, I'm applying for the different opportunities out there. And one of the things that she taught me was never leave anything blank. Even if it doesn't apply to you, then say not applicable or N/A. Never leave anything blank. You don't want to leave the panel person wondering what the answer is, even if it's not applicable. And that's another way for them to weed you out. So never, ever, ever leave anything blank. So I hope these tips help. I try to do the best I can to provide these resources as a type A creative, because I know most creatives are type B. And so I do offer consults for those that need it, because a lot of times as artists, we think very lofty, swirly, it's just very vibey. And with grants, they just need very concrete information, tangible information with metrics that are applied so that they can entrust that you know what you're doing and you can get this done, and that you follow within their realm of requirements so that they can approve you. They want to approve you if they can approve you, but it's very competitive. So these are small little adjustments that you can make that if you're applying. And if you have any other questions, make sure you put them in the comment section. I'll be happy to respond. And also download the free Indie Artist Checklist if you're a musician, because this is going to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. It's going to put you ahead of the game if you're even applying for grants, because you have your business in order. And a lot of times grants, that's what they're looking for. So that's all my advice for today. I hope it was helpful. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again for the next one.